Welcome to Midnight Story tonight. I will begin now. Take a slow breath in. And gently release it. Let the weight of the day loosen. Let the muscles soften. There is nothing you need to do. Nothing you need to remember. Just a voice. And a story. Moving at the pace of rest. The letter arrived without sound. No knock at the door. No alert on a phone. It was simply there, resting on the wooden desk. As though it had been waiting patiently for the room to notice it. The paper was thick, not the kind made now. It carried a faint scent of smoke. And old rain. And something else Samuel Carter could not immediately name. Time, perhaps. Samuel stood quietly for a moment, looking at it. He had spent most of his life with things like this. Documents that survived longer than their writers. Words that outlived breath. Yet this felt different. The handwriting on the envelope was careful. Measured. Each letter shaped with intention. His name written by someone who had learned patience before haste existed. Samuel sat down slowly. The chair creaked beneath him, grounding him in the present. Outside, a car passed. Somewhere nearby, a clock continued counting seconds. The world remained ordinary. He opened the envelope. The sound of paper unfolding seemed louder than it should have been. Dear Dr. Carter, if this has reached you, then time has chosen once again to behave in ways it rarely admits. Samuel felt a quiet tightening in his chest. Not fear, recognition. The name followed. Elijah Morgan. Samuel exhaled slowly. He knew it. Not from stories passed down. Not from family lore. From records. 3 appearances across a century of archives. Each brief. Each puzzling. Each describing a man who did not seem to move forward with the years. Samuel continued reading. I was born in Virginia in the year 1840. I walked into the woods one morning believing myself ordinary. I did not walk out the same. The house was quiet. The modern world hummed softly around it. And yet, something older had entered the room. Samuel leaned back. He allowed the story to come to him at its own pace. Elijah remembered the woods clearly. Not as a place of fear, but of stillness. He had grown up near forests. Knew the language of leaves. The restless sound of insects. The way light moved differently beneath tall trees. This forest had no language. The moment he stepped between the pines, sound faded gently. Like a hand closing over a candle flame. No birds. No wind. Even his own breath felt distant. He stood there, young and uncertain, holding a tin cup and a folded paper bearing the seal of the Union Army. He was not running from home. He was walking towards something he believed mattered. The silence did not feel hostile. It felt attentive. Elijah did not know how long he remained there. Time did not pass the way it usually did. There were no markers, no hunger, no fatigue, only presence. When sound returned, it did so gently. A bird calling, leaves shifting. The world resumed as if nothing had happened. Elijah stepped forward, and the woods released him. He joined the army that afternoon. No one noticed anything unusual. War was already gathering its weight. The days filled quickly. Marching, drills, waiting, learning how to sleep lightly, learning how to listen for danger. Elijah learned fast, not because he was gifted, but because he paid attention. He noticed the way men changed when fear became familiar. How laughter grew quieter. How letters from home were read again and again until the paper thinned. He learned the sound of distant artillery. The difference between thunder and cannon. And when he was wounded. A shallow cut, nothing more. The medic frowned. You'll be fine, the man said. You heal like you're in a hurry. Elijah smiled politely. He did not yet know what the man meant. Seasons changed. Winters came and went. Men aged. Faces grew harder. Hands shook more often. Elijah remained unchanged. At first, no one noticed. War hides details. It blurs edges. But time has a way of revealing itself through others. A boy who joined at 16 grew into a man beside him. A sergeant with dark hair turned gray. And Elijah looked the same. One night, a young private asked him quietly by the fire. How long you been out here? Elijah answered honestly. Since the beginning. The private studied him. My father's younger than you should be. Elijah laughed softly. The fire cracked. The question passed. But it did not leave. That night, Elijah looked into a pool of rainwater. His reflection stared back, calm and unchanged. Something in him understood then. The woods had not stopped time. They had loosened it. After the war, Elijah walked Through towns learning how to breathe again. Through fields where silence sat heavier than gunfire ever had. He worked, stayed, moved on. Years passed without leaving marks. People noticed. Questions came. Elijah learned to leave before answers were demanded. He crossed into a new century quietly. Watched machines replace horses. Watched light conquer darkness. Time moved forward. Elijah moved differently. I am not immortal, he wrote. I simply remain where others pass through. Memory ages me, not years. Samuel lowered the pages slightly. His breathing had slowed. The house felt heavier. As if listening, Elijah's words carried no desperation, only weariness. Eventually, Elijah wrote, "Time remembers me again, and when it does, I feel the years all at once." Samuel understood then. Elijah was not escaping time. He was borrowing from it. And the debt was coming due. Take a slow breath in. And let it out. I will continue the same uninterrupted voiceover in the next message, flowing naturally forward with no breaks. The years did not arrive all at once. They came softly, in quiet moments, when Elijah sat alone at night. When the world finally stopped asking him who he was. Time would gently rest its weight on his shoulders. A stiffness in his hands that faded by morning. A tiredness behind the eyes that sleep could not quite reach. It was not pain. It was memory. He learned to live carefully. To move gently through decades the way others move through rooms. He did not seek attention. Did not leave marks. He helped where he could. A farm rebuilt. A child carried from floodwater. A stranger guided home through snow. Kindness required no explanation. As the 20th century unfolded, Elijah watched the world hurry. Machines grew louder. Voices grew faster. Time no longer lingered the way it once had. And yet, it still slowed for him. There were moments, rare and quiet, when the woods returned. Not always forests. Sometimes a deserted road at dawn. Sometimes a field after snowfall. Sound would thin, light would soften, and Elijah would feel that familiar loosening. As though time briefly looked away. In those moments, he could rest. Not sleep. Rest. He would sit, breathe, remember. Memory was the true measure. Not calendars. Not clocks. Memory. Every face he had known. Every voice he had heard and lost. Each one added weight. By the time electricity filled the nights, Elijah felt older than he appeared. He wrote letters then, not to send, just to place words somewhere outside himself. The world moves faster now, he wrote once. But I have learned that speed is not the same as distance. Samuel read late into the night. The room dim, the outside world fading. He felt no fear, only a quiet sadness, and something else, gratitude. Elijah's words did not ask to be believed. They asked only to be heard. Eventually, Elijah wrote, I felt time begin to pull again. Not sharply. Not cruelly. Gently. It happened in small ways. Hair that did not quite return to its color. Hands that ached a little longer. Time was remembering him. Elijah returned to the woods one final time. Not seeking answers. Only acknowledgement. The silence came easily now. Familiar. Almost welcoming. I'm ready, he said softly. The forest did not respond. But when sound returned, Elijah felt the years settle into him. He aged, not all at once, but enough. Enough to feel complete. I do not know when I will leave this world, he wrote. Only that I will do so quietly. That feels right. The letter ended without farewell. No signature. No date. Just a pressed leaf between the final pages. Dry. Fragile. At peace. Samuel closed the envelope carefully. Outside, dawn approached. Light touched the edges of the world again. He placed the letter in an archive box. Not to hide it, but to rest it. Some stories were not meant to echo loudly. They were meant to be found gently. By those who listened slowly. Take a slow breath in. And let it go. Time continues. Softly. Somewhere. If you are new my channel, please subscribe and press bell icon. A man finally moved forward with it. And somewhere else, a listener drifts gently into sleep. Sweet dreams. Good night.